Window shopping is one of the many activities that I really love to do, whether it be window shopping online or offline. I do that quite a lot, and while I do so, I have so many thoughts running through my mind. So if there's any stuff that I find interesting, I just want to spend some time talking about them because you guys might also find it interesting too. And I mostly talk about technology. So without further ado, here's our first installment of Let's Window Shop. I was browsing the online shop for a bit, and this laptop caught my attention. The Acer Nitro V15, which cost about 10.3 million rupiah or $630. The Nitro series is Acer's budget tier gaming laptop lineup. This particular model has an Intel Core i5-13420H. The CPU uses Intel's new architecture, which uses P cores and E cores rather than the standard CPU cores. The i5-13420H has 4 P cores and 4 E cores. That's 12 threads of processing, 4 times 2 P cores and 4 E cores. It's not bad for multitasking and light content creation. Unfortunately, this laptop has 2 incredibly significant weak points. The first one is the RTX 2050. That's an old GPU, but a lot of laptop manufacturers go with it because it's the cheapest you can get with an RTX GPU. If you're playing more recent titles, you're gonna have to lower your settings, especially the textures, because of that 4 gigs of VRAM. Thankfully, as we saw from the Steam statistics, most people do not play games from the current year. If you're among the 84-85% of gamers who only play older titles, or if you don't count in the statistics and play retro emulated games, the RTX 2050 Mobile is still suitable to play old games from the 2000s, some games from the 2010s, and maybe some indie titles from the current year. It's not totally worthless depending on the type of games you play. The next big flaw is the 8 gigs of RAM. That should be upgraded to 16 gig in my opinion. 8 gigs is not enough for gaming and video editing. Thankfully, this laptop has 1 more RAM slot and 1 more SSD slot. Speaking of SSD, I think 512 gig is fine for those who just want to play older or retro games, but more recent AAA titles are like 100 gigs, so definitely consider upgrading the storage in the future. This is a new product that recently popped up on the feed, and I find it interesting because I really like the design. Even so, it's an Acer gaming laptop, so while it is definitely on the cheaper side, I'm more comfortable buying an MSI or Lenovo entry-level gaming laptop than an Acer, if you ask me. Personally, if I'm looking for a laptop, I will definitely prioritize work over gaming. That's what I use most of my PCs for. Thankfully, my work doesn't require top-of-the-line RTX GPUs, and I barely play games from the current year. I still play Counter-Strike Source, and that can run even on integrated graphics. If you ask me, my personal pick for a budget, entry-level content production, and sometimes light gaming laptop is this Lenovo LOQ, or LOQ. It costs nearly 10 million rupiah, or around $605. But it promises quite a lot. It has an Intel Core i5-12450HX, which has 4 P cores, 4 E cores, and 12 threads in total. That's good enough for me. My videos are only 1080p 30 FPS. I record 1080p 60 FPS. I don't stream games, I only stream literal PowerPoint presentations, and this laptop is perfect for those use cases. The GPU is the RTX 2050 4GB. That's a terrible GPU for AAA titles in the current year. But thankfully, I don't play AAA titles in the current year, like many Steam users and retro gamers out there. I play older games from the 2000s. I emulate retro games. It can run Counter-Strike Source and Rocket League. That's good enough for me. The weirdest flaw from this laptop is a 12 gig DDR5 4800. That's because the RAM is on board and there's only 1 more RAM slot for upgrade. Also, I would definitely upgrade the 512 gig SSD to 2 terabytes. I make internet content, the more storage, the better. Keep in mind that this is my personal pick for my personal use case, not yours. Maybe you're the type of person that plays really demanding AAA titles from the current year. This laptop is not for that. This laptop, in my opinion, is perfect for what I typically do every day, which is work, content production at 1080p, and playing older retro games. If you're just like me, then something like this is definitely worth considering at this price point. I don't need to buy it now, I'm just window shopping after all, but in the future, if the 2 laptops that I have right now are having problems, this would be my personal pick if I'm on a really tight budget. I talk about gaming laptops quite a lot, but even as a PC gamer, I do have to admit that most people do not use their PCs and laptops for gaming. They use their PCs and laptops for work. So it'd be remiss for me not to include laptops that are meant specifically for office or school. But this is where getting super cheap can be a real problem. There are some really cheap laptops like this Asus one that costs 4 million rupiah or $244 that use CPUs like Intel Celeron or AMD Athlon. I personally would avoid those because their performances are terrible for browsing and office work. For budget laptops, get an Intel i3 or a Ryzen 3 at least. This one has 128 gig eMMC storage. That's basically the speed of an SD card. If you see this on a laptop spec, avoid them. Please get laptops that use SSD NVMe as storage, not eMMC as storage. The RAM for this laptop is 8 GB, which is fine for browsing and office work. If you notice one with 4 gigs or less, please avoid them. If you do have a laptop like this, there are some things you can do. First is to upgrade the RAM or storage to an SSD if possible. This one has no upgradable RAM, but it has an empty M.2 slot, so get an SSD and upgrade it ASAP. Second, try installing a lightweight Linux distro. Windows 11 is an extreme hog of an operating system, so only specific types of hardware can run it well. There are so many lightweight Linux distros out there that are focused on low-spec PCs. Most office work can be done on Linux too, so definitely try installing those and see the performance difference of your low-spec PCs or laptops compared to using Windows. I talked about laptops quite a lot for Windows shopping, but what about PCs? I travel a lot, and laptops are the best way for me to continue my content production and gaming activities on the go. I'm traveling right now recording this video using my phone instead of my usual microphone. Oh, and the Boya BYN1 lavalier mic helps a lot. So laptops are definitely something that I would find more interesting to talk about, but that doesn't mean that I don't get to eye some PCs here and there. Here in Indonesia, people actually sell pre-built PCs, and a lot of their offerings range from interesting to downright bizarre. No pictures for this, so I'm using this empty case photo. This store is offering 8 million rupiah, $490 for a PC that can claim to be used for gaming. But the gaming capabilities are very limited. Why? Because it has a Ryzen 7 5700G, a CPU with a Vega 8 integrated GPU. The Vega 8 GPU is not the kind of GPU that you will use to play the latest AAA titles. It runs original Skyrim, not special edition Skyrim, on medium settings. That's the level of GPU capability that you would expect out of it. Granted, it's not useless. I have a Vega 7 iGPU out of my Ryzen 5 4600G, an inferior CPU than this one with an inferior iGPU. Counter-Strike Source runs like a beauty with Vega 7. It just needs the right games to perform well, but it is not what I would use for playing games on the current year. Other parts of the PC are also rather questionable. 8 gigs of RAM is okay for browsing the net or office work, but not ideal for gaming or content creation. 128 gig of SSD with a 500 gig mechanical hard drive is a very outdated combination. This is not intended for current year gaming. This is intended for older games. I say games from the 2000s and below should run okay with this setup. The biggest problem with this build is the Ryzen 7 CPU. There's no need to be 8-core 16-thread if you're just purely gaming. You can save some money by choosing a Ryzen 5 CPU and use the rest of the money to buy other more crucial components like GPU, RAM, and SSD. That's my input. What do you guys think? Funnily enough, the same store that offers the Ryzen 7 5800G gaming PC also offers a different package, but with a significantly better offering, or at least on paper. Again, the picture is just for the case, not the actual build. The Ryzen 7 5800G PC is about 8 million rupiah or $490. This one is about 8.15 million rupiah or $499. For an entry-level $499 gaming PC, you could do a lot worse than this one. This PC has a Ryzen 5 4500, which is a 6-core CPU that should do the job fine. But it has an RTX 3050, an actual GPU that can be used to play plenty of modern titles. It's not the best value GPU in the market, but it is way better than a Vega 8. Also, it has a 512 gig SSD, which is way better to store modern games than a hard drive. But even so, this store offers a different rig that is slightly cheaper, but offers way more value. This rig right here is mostly the same thing, except it's 8.1 million rupiah or $495, slightly cheaper. but it has an RX 6600, which is a significantly better GPU than the RTX 3050 in terms of raw rasterization performance. If you want to know how they perform, just go to YouTube and type in the GPU that you want to see, or type in one GPU versus another GPU. Then you will see how they perform. I personally recommend the RX 6600 over the RTX 3050. If I'm in the market for a $500 entry-level gaming PC, I personally would have gotten the RX 6600 build. $500 is the most amount of money that I would spend on a PC, strictly for work and basic content creation. Let's say I do want to play those AAA PC titles from current year, like Black Myth Wukong. How much money would I spend? To me at least, $1,000 is an ideal PC build for 1080p gaming, which is about 16.3 million rupiah. Here's my personal dream build. Keep in mind that I'm buying this based on the stocks available in the local store here in Bali. First off, Ryzen 5 7600, a Zen 4 6-core 12-thread CPU. I was tempted to get the 8000 series, but it turns out that they are generally slower. Thank you, PC Builder, for informing me about that. Great video too, look it up. As for the 9000 series, the only one in stock is way too expensive and not worth the price, so I'm sticking with the 7000 series. I will pair it with an MSI Pro B650S Wi-Fi motherboard. Thank you, Steve from Hardware Unboxed, for the recommendation. Obviously, I chose AM5 because there's an upgrade path for it in the future. For the GPU, I have to go with AMD again. It's the Sapphire Pulse RX 7600 XT. It doesn't have the best ray tracing, upscaling, or encoding performance, but it's good enough for 90% of gamers, including myself. For RAM, I don't need anything too fancy or too fast, but I do need a lot of storage for content creation. Kingston Fury Beast 32 gigs of DDR5 5200. For storage, I decided to go for the ADATA XPG Gamix S70 Blade 2TB Gen 4 NVMe. I was about to pick the DRAM list, but HMB supported Team Group MP33 2TB Gen 3 NVMe, but it turns out that I have some leftover money, so I might as well spend it on a better SSD that actually has DRAM according to the SSD tier list. Power supply. After using a power supply calculator, I might generate around 300 watts. I'm not an expert on this one, so I'll just consult the PSU tier list. And I'll have to go with the Tier C MSI Mag A650BN, 650 watts, 80 plus bronze. Last but not least, the case. I'll just go with something simple but has a brand name, and that is the MSI MagForce 128 Airflow, which includes 4 black fans. Nothing special, but it should do the job just fine. And that's just the PC. What do you guys think of this build? Is there something that you want to do differently? Let us know in the comments. That gaming PC is if I want to build from zero and if I buy new parts. I can get cheaper parts if I buy all used parts or if I just upgrade the streaming PC. But that streaming PC is perfectly fine as it is, and I have no plans on turning it into a gaming PC or anything. And that's just a general guide for most of you PC gamers out there. But I'm window shopping right here, and there are a couple more items in this shop that I find incredibly fascinating. I am always fascinated by NUCs, or these NUC-like computers. These are what's commonly known as Mini-PCs, and I was a bit surprised that MSI is selling one. Look at this cutie. This is an MSI QB512M with a Core i3-1215U, which uses Intel's new architecture that has 2 P-cores and 4 E-cores, and that's 8 threads in total. It doesn't have any dedicated GPU. It only uses Intel HD graphics. Not only that, but this store is also selling it bare bones, which means it doesn't include any NVMe SSD or SODIMM RAM. We'll have to buy them separately and of course install the operating system separately too. This one is priced at 4.17 million or around $255 bare bones. If I include the SSD and RAM, I'd say the price should go around $300. For a mini PC, it's not a bad price, but the question is, why would anyone buy a mini PC like this? What are the advantages of buying a PC with a small form factor like this compared to buying a full-fledged desktop PC? The 2 primary reasons are efficiency in both power and space. Mini PCs tend to consume a lot less power compared to the desktop counterparts, which makes these PCs ideal for things that run an entire day without consuming too much power, like digital signs or digital ads. They are also very good for basic office work, and these mini PCs are so small that you don't need a lot of space to waste. But to me at least, I find these mini PCs fascinating because they can be turned into a small retro gaming console. You can hook this up to a TV, plug in a wireless mouse and keyboard, connect a controller, and you can have a really nice retro gaming experience. That might be a possible video I make in the future, but I do not have the cash for it right now. If you want to see me do that, check on the links down below and stay tuned. I window shopped a lot of PC products this week, but there is one product that I find genuinely fascinating. If I have the spare cash to buy it, I honestly probably would, just to test it out. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Awareness All-in-One PC Keyboard. It's a keyboard with a PC inside it. Yes, you heard that right. It's an all-in-one PC that is housed on a keyboard. The last time I heard something like that, it's the freaking Commodore 64. But there are some new innovations to this form factor, like the Raspberry Pi 400 or this Abacus PC from Pentaform. Usually, all-in-one PCs are housed in a monitor, so the monitor has a PC inside it. That makes sense, right? Not this one, apparently. This all-in-one PC is housed in a keyboard, like it's the Commodore 64 or the ZX Spectrum. I would love to try it out, but there is one problem with the Awareness All-in-One Keyboard PC, and that is this PC is from 2012, and it has a frankly pathetic Intel Atom D2500 2 cores, 2 threads. The last time I used a PC with Intel Atom is my HP Mini 110. I have a lot of nostalgia with that laptop. I used that laptop primarily for schoolwork and playing retro games from the 90s. The thing is, that HP Mini 110 is currently being used by one of my relatives, also for schoolwork, so it's not entirely useless, and I really want to experiment and push how far this PC can go. I definitely wouldn't want to install Windows in it. I'd probably install a lightweight Linux distro and try to play some retro games in it. That, or just buy a USB stick and install Battlesera in it so that I can turn it into a retro gaming platform. The possibilities are endless, but I'm only window shopping right now. So, if you want to see me putting this PC in action, please check out and subscribe to my channel. Leave some tips too. That'd be appreciated. And that's all for the window shopping today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to the end, here's a cat. And also huge thanks to all these wonderful sponsors. You are all fantastic. If you want to see your name among these legends, then check out the links below. Just $1 and you have supported this channel a lot. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my AIO Show stream channel. Link below, go subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.